just getting live on YouTube, and then we'll get the recording started. It's live. Perfect. Put you over here. Oh, we're not different podcasts. Just moving my windows around now. That. Hey.
Hello.
Great to have you. Thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, please just put them in the chat room here in the webinar chat room, or on YouTube if you're here, and we'll get to them either at the time or when appropriate during the interview at the end if we didn't find a spot, but we'll definitely get to them. I like to make sure we answer all the questions.
You ask a question, you deserve an answer.
Absolutely. We do our best to, when we're doing these, to make sure people don't leave with, they may have more questions, but at least the questions they've asked is
sometimes when I talk, I create more questions than answers, so we'll see.
Yeah, because we'll talk about a few things and people will say, oh, you know what, I want to know about that thing you mentioned, that government grant or that program or that whatever, right? So yeah. Excuse me, and we'll, if you're ready.
I'm always ready.
And let's just make sure I have your last name right. Yeah, even though we're live, it's Weitzman.
Right. That's pretty bang on. Yes, Weitzman.
Okay.
Impressive.
All right.
Impressive. And yours is Major.
Yeah,
right?
that's pretty hard, isn't it?
No, you got it right.
Welcome back to Startup Talk. I'm your host, the startup coach, founder of Toronto Starts, one of the largest startup communities in Canada. And with me today is Neil Weitzman, founder and CEO of PORCH, an exclusive community for immigrant entrepreneurs and professionals. Welcome, Neil.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here, Craig.
Can you tell us about your background and how you became interested in entrepreneurship?
Wow, it's a big question to start with. Yes, I can, of course. Thank you. I'll try not, I like talking a lot, so I'll try not to talk about myself too much here. So I'll give you a quick little story. I've always been interested in entrepreneurship. I think kind of growing up in my career, I don't think I had, let's call it the risk tolerance. I was a little scared of it, maybe. I don't think I took enough risks in my career early on. And but I always admired and respected and wanted to be an entrepreneur, even though I don't think I, took that risk and took that jump into it. So my career turned out where, I grew up in my career, had various roles, became a startup advisor, got involved in entrepreneurship in many ways, but didn't actually become one until kind of later in life. And, about 5 years ago-ish, when I started to actually become an entrepreneur on my own. But I've been involved in the entrepreneurial world for 20 plus years as a startup advisor, as a fractional chief revenue officer, and so on. But the respect and admiration I have for entrepreneurs has always been there, right? The risk that entrepreneurs take, what they do for our economy, for employment, for each other. It's so beneficial, and it's so much darn fun as well, of course, right? But yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, working with entrepreneurship is a lot of fun, and working with startups is a lot of fun, and I get so much out of it.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the idea for PORCH, and what motivated you to create a community specifically for immigrant entrepreneurs? And I'm going to throw one more in here.
Sure.
How did you come up with helping 1 million immigrant entrepreneurs? Because that seems like a big number.
Yeah, it is. Okay, let me take those one by one. So I do two things, and so I'll answer the PORCH one. Really quick. There's two things that I'm doing in my life. One is I'm a fractional chief revenue officer. I have a company called Revenue X, where I work with startups, early stage companies, CEOs who are basically founder-led organizations transitioning to true, repeatable, scalable businesses with sales and marketing teams. That's what I do, kind of to, if I will, to feed my family and to support my life. My passion, and that we launched about 6 months ago, is PORCH, as you mentioned, Craig. PORCH has been a long time coming, I think, in my life. I've always been incredibly passionate about, well, you heard me talk about entrepreneurship a minute ago. I won't repeat that. So I've always been incredibly excited about it and involved in entrepreneurship. I've also, as a proud Canadian, and I hope all Canadians are like this, I've always been incredibly proud of what Canada stands for around immigration. It's kind of, I guess I would say I'm born into it. It's in my DNA. I have incredible passion for the world of immigration and incredible immigrants coming to this country to make a difference, making a better life, if you will, if that's their purpose. And of course, the incredible contributions they make. The third thing is the idea of community. So I've spent a lot of time, especially recently in my career, around the idea of community. And we all say the word community and often mean different things. But a properly well-run, moderated community that is there to give and get is, I believe, incredible value for people in their career, and especially for entrepreneurs, and double especially is exponentially better for immigrant entrepreneurs who have a unique set of challenges that some of others don't have. They're challenged with all the same things any entrepreneur is, but also the journey of immigration and coming to a new country, a new marketplace, maybe not having English as your first language, not knowing how to write a proper email that will resonate well in a Canadian marketplace. There's so many things that an immigrant entrepreneur has to deal with than a regular entrepreneur, if you will, or a non-immigrant entrepreneur doesn't. And I believe community can help with a lot of that, or at least make it exponentially easier. So all those things coming together, entrepreneurship, immigration, and community, was kind of the birth, if you will, of the idea of PORCH. And that's how we started it. That's why we started it. We're about 6 months-ish in, and we're super, super excited, and we're getting some great feedback. As to the million, when you set a mission, you set one that is not going to be reached tomorrow. Our mission should be hopefully ambitious, but also achievable. A million's a lot. There's no doubt about it. But I believe it is achievable. It might take us a little while, but that's the idea. I want PORCH hopefully will be around forever. And so we've set an ambitious, but we believe achievable mission statement. And we've kept it pretty generic. We want to help 1 million entrepreneurs succeed in Canada. The definition of success varies according to what their definition is. It's not about what I think. It's about what the immigrant entrepreneur themselves feels is what their goals and success looks like. So I'll pause there because I could keep going.
Yeah, I only asked about the million number because I work with a bunch of people in the startup visa program, and their backlog, how many years? 3.5 years or something. And they only let 1,000 people in. And I'm like, geez, how long? Like, I want to help as many people as I can, but that's like a drip versus like, let's let some people in. And that moves me to my next question. What are some of the biggest challenges that immigrant entrepreneurs face when starting a business in Canada? And how do you help address those challenges?
Yeah, great question. And just to touch on what you just mentioned too, Craig, yes, I mean, there is backlogs, and I think things are hopefully getting better. But an immigrant entrepreneur for us doesn't have to be someone who is, right now in the system waiting for approval or paperwork. It could be someone who's literally in Canada today, who's been here for either a week or for 20 years and wants to still join a community and learn and build relationships. So it could be anywhere in their kind of immigration journey, if you will. As to the challenges, we touched on a little bit there, but, there's the traditional entrepreneurship challenges that everyone has, right? How do you grow your business? How do you maybe raise capital if that's what you're looking to do? How do you find your first set of clients, or how do you grow and scale? What's the sales playbook look like? Those are all standard issues that every entrepreneur deals with. But as an immigrant entrepreneur, of course, there's like we said, a unique set of challenges that maybe others don't have to deal with, right? If I'm new to the country, how do I open my first bank account, corporate bank account? What kind of insurance do I need? How does that even work in Canada? How do I set up a Canadian benefit system for employees? It's very different than my home country. Gosh darn it, what bank should I even use? Which are better for immigrant entrepreneurs than others? Is there a piece of software I can use to incorporate my business, or should I hire an expensive lawyer or a not expensive lawyer? There's a million questions, I think, that many of us might take for granted, that are kind of just because if we grew up here, then you might know people, you might know who to call, you might know what bank to use. So all these, let's call them very personal or human questions, are generally quite unique. We had someone in PORCH the other day. It was an amazing conversation. We use Slack in PORCH as our kind of headquarters for our discussions, in addition to other things we do. But one person from Thailand said, hey, I'm coming to Canada soon. I'm going to be there. I don't know where I want to settle. I have a couple kids, and I'm paraphrasing here. I have a couple kids. Has anyone have any insights on how school systems work? What are good school systems? What are not good school systems? Because he wanted to use that information to help him decide where he wants to settle and, headquarters his business and so on. Some people who are here and maybe have been here forever, they know the areas, they know things, they hear things, they grew up with it. So they're just things we take for granted. And it was a wonderful conversation that all of us learned from. People were sharing their opinions and some data as to like how school systems are ranked. And this person, really appreciated that input and advice so that he can take those different data points and make the decisions he needs to make.
You mentioned the other part of your life as founder and fractional CRO of Revenue X. How do you support CEOs of early stage companies?
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. Thanks, Craig. So I started Revenue X about 3 years ago. Absolutely love it. I've been a CRO in my career. I've been marketing leadership. I've run partnership teams. And I'm very, very passionate about, revenue generation and helping CEOs sort out what that looks like. I was going to say it's easy to find your first few clients. It's not. Sometimes that's really, really hard. But it's not as hard as building a repeatable and scalable process and sales motion that you can build your business and grow off of. That's really, really difficult in many, many cases. And so I'm really passionate about and I focus on helping generally earlier stage companies and CEOs who might have been the best salesperson, right? The CEO traditionally is always the best salesperson because they're the CEO. And going from the CEO being the best salesperson to helping build a team around them that they can trust, who can bring in sales in a trusted and repeatable motion. That includes, how do you hire the team? What does the team look like? How do you onboard them? What is the sales playbook so that they can follow it? How do you ramp them up in a quick enough rate so that you're making money and not losing money over a longer period of time? Even when we talk revenue, we talk marketing as part of that. So what does the inbound and the outbound process look like? What is the GTM strategy overall? So there's a million things in everything I just said, devil in the details. But that's where I focus, and that's what I, as a fractional chief revenue officer, help a CEO do. My role is like a day a week or 2 days a week, whatever that may look like over the course of 3 months or 6 months. Every engagement's a little different. But I am essentially their sales leader, their revenue leader, their CRO. I'm just not doing it full time. But otherwise, that's how I act and that's how I behave. And my goal is when I leave them, they're in significantly better place than when I started, and theoretically are now ready to bring in a full-time CRO or a full-time VP of sales, because now it makes sense, because it, to pay for an expensive VP of sales or CRO, you want to make sure you're getting your money's worth, and they're not doing all the foundational building and strategy figuring out. That's why the fractional model, I think, works really, really well.
How do you balance being a founder and CEO of Porch and your role as founder of RevenueX?
Oh man, I don't know if I do, to be honest, Craig. When you say balance, I'm not sure I do a good job balancing it. I work too much, but I love it. You know, a lot of people talk about, you know, working too much and spending more time with family and friends, and I should do that for sure. I should. I talk about that all the time. I do work too much, but I love what I do. So to me, it doesn't feel like work. I have no issues with it. I love putting in time and effort talking with CEOs. I take calls all the time just to give advice and help out, unpaid, because I enjoy it. I'm very passionate about it. And for Porch, my passion to help the immigrant entrepreneurs and try to reach that million one day is literally through the roof. It's all I do, you know, and my co-founder too. It's literally all we do. We just love it. And so, yes, it's officially, we call it work, but it does not feel like work. It feels like a passionate hobby that we have that we absolutely love. So I go what's needed. You know, I schedule my time to the best of my ability, but sometimes you have to be reactive, and sometimes there's a little fire here and a little fire there. So I don't think I have any magic advice. It's just I make it work somehow. And because I'm passionate and love it, I'm good with it. If I didn't enjoy it, that would be a whole different discussion we'd be having. But I do love it. So that's probably the best answer I have when it comes to balance. And it's not much of an answer, but
Yeah, unfortunately, in the world we live in, balance is not always there. I mean, I don't draw a salary from Toronto Starts. Hopefully, at some point I will, but I got other stuff, and yeah, balance. I'm always working. I've always got the laptop open.
right.
But you got to love what you do. It is what
Yeah,
it
and
is.
you're a great testament to that, right? That's a great example, right? You enjoy it, you're amazing at it, people love you for it, and hopefully the karma comes back to you in different ways.
Absolutely. And you're talking about building a community, like we have at Toronto Starts. How
Yeah.
do you measure the success at Porch?
Oh man, we can talk about this one. We think of activity and engagement, and then of course the feedback from our community. Um, Activity engagement is the first thing I go to, but it's not the only thing that you have to look at, because activity engagement doesn't equal value necessarily. Here's what I mean. Communities have all different types of people in them, right? Some people use the word lurkers. I prefer the word learners. There's active people who are passionate and talking and typing in Slack and joining all the events and jumping on and asking questions. And those people are amazing. And the more of them, the better, of course. And we love them. But there's also learners who might not type in Slack very often. They read all the time, but they might not be typing a lot. So they don't look active. They might join an event potentially once in a while, but they never ask a question. That doesn't mean they're not getting incredible value from the community. It just doesn't show up in the data in the same way. And so first and foremost, we do look at things like activity and engagement metrics. For us, we're doing really, really well on that, especially early on, but we want to maintain that as we grow the base of the number of members. But then we also have to get feedback. So, that learner, again, people sometimes say lurker. To me, that's got a bit of a negative connotation, but it shouldn't be negative. That learner, you have to ask them. You have to say, hey, I know you're not especially active, but are you finding value? What do you think? What are your thoughts? So it's a combination of some trackable metrics like activity metrics and engagement metrics, but then you've got to get feedback from your membership. That's all we care about. We one day want the community to be 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, and I'm very comfortable and optimistic it will get there. I don't know if it's going to get there in 6 months or in 5 years. And to be honest, I don't really care, because I'm focused, and we're focused on delivering value to our members. Now, I do believe to a large extent, the greater the membership, the greater the value, because there's more incredible entrepreneurs together. But as long as my members are saying, this is great, we love it, it's valuable, keep going, then I think we're doing the right thing. So we try to talk and listen to them as closely as we can.
How does Porch differ from other entrepreneurial communities or resources available to immigrant entrepreneurs?
Gosh, okay. First and foremost, I think one thing is, of course, because Porch is for immigrant entrepreneurs, there's a lot of stuff out there for entrepreneurs. There's an incredible amount of support, communities, accelerators, incubators for entrepreneurs. And so that's wonderful. And they should keep, they're doing incredible work, of course. And we're not trying to change or replace that in any way, shape, or form. I would argue there's also a lot of things for, let's call it general immigrants, right? Support services, again, different communities that are out there. But I don't think there's anything until now, in my opinion, properly built and run for immigrant entrepreneurs. Again, unique set of needs and values and issues that they challenge with. It brings a lot of challenges for us, right? So, if right now we have approximately 50% of our membership from about 40 different countries, living in 40 different countries as we speak. But what does that mean in trying to run a community, right? English isn't the first language for everybody, right? So we've brought in different technologies. We have an app within our Slack called Translate that we're testing out, where people can literally translate every post if they want, in order to put it into their language of choice. So we're trying different things to leverage technology to have better communication forums. But for us, that's very, very different. The one thing that I think Porch brings that all the other, let's call them incubators, accelerators, training programs, services that are out there that include or bring a lot of value for immigrant entrepreneurs, is that they're all wonderful. So I'm not saying anything negative about them. They're all incredible, but they're all their unique kind of niche community, right? So if you're a client of incubator XYZ and you're part of a cohort with 30 different immigrant entrepreneurs, and there was another 30 immigrant entrepreneurs that came before you, that's great. And you should keep doing that, right? Of course. But what I want is to allow that immigrant entrepreneur to have access and a sense of community, not just to their cohort and the incubator that they signed up with, but hopefully thousands and thousands and thousands of other immigrant entrepreneurs across the world and across Canada. And the tie that binds us together is, I don't care where you are in the world, the tie that binds us together is their love and passion to want to be an entrepreneur in Canada. And I don't want us to put up walls and roadblocks because you signed up for incubator A versus incubator B. Who cares? Keep getting you the value you want there, but let's build a foundation so they can all build relationships, learn from each other, no matter what company you signed up with to get your initial incubation or acceleration program. And that's why I think Porch is unique, and why I think Porch has the ability to partner and work together on the greater mission of just helping immigrant entrepreneurs without any worry about competition. It's all partnership.
Yeah, building a community and getting them engaged and getting them engaging each other, is really, really important. You mentioned earlier your Slack community. We have a Slack community, but it's not very active. It used to be at one point, but people just DM me. They have a question, they just DM me. And I encourage people to post in public because there's so many lurkers. They want the answers. They want the conversations. They want the stuff. Like Slack is these networks are meant to be networks, not closed. And
For
another example, and it's a tip for everyone who's listening, I run networking events pretty much for a living. When you want to talk to somebody, don't form a line and be the next person in line. Form a circle. Be part of the conversation. Like,
great tip.
Yeah, because this is what happens. People form a line and then everyone's saying things twice. But now if you join the conversation, you're learning from two people. Someone's already answering questions. You can jump in at any time. And at a networking event, everyone appreciates that. They have no problem with you kind of being part of it. Just, don't form a line, form a circle.
I am writing that down. And with your blessing, I'm going to steal that and use that. That's fantastic tip.
Absolutely. Use it wherever. I just see it so many times.
Yeah,
And
it's great.
it's
It's a great
not
point.
natural for people to do that.
Yeah.
How do you stay up to date with the latest trends and best practices in entrepreneurship and business growth?
Um, yeah, I consider myself a constant learner, right? I'm getting up there in age these days, but I think my learning and I think my desire to learn is greater than it's ever been, which is kind of I don't know if that's normal, frankly, but I'm a constant learner. I think in my younger days I might have been more a little bit pigheaded and maybe I thought I knew more than I did, and now I think I know. Like I'm confident in what I know, but I know that it's never ending, and the more I learn, the better off I'm going to be, and the more I can help others. So I'm a constant learner, and I think maybe the answer you might expect is I go to community to help me learn. And there's different types of communities, right? For example, the LinkedIn community is a place I go all the time. It's a different type of community, but the content and the people I follow help me learn a lot and remind me of things. And I incredibly enjoy that, and I'm better off for it. I take those learnings and I use it in my business and in what I do. The other part is I'm also, even though I run Porch, I'm also part of other communities. And I absolutely love that. Frankly, I'm part of too many. I need to tail back a little bit just from a time perspective. But I started getting into community a lot with a group called Pavilion. You know, if you're a senior revenue leader, GTM leader, you should check out Pavilion. Pavilion's an amazing community where I learned a lot about community. I'm part of something C100. They have a community as well. I'm part of something called Rev Genius, and so on. And I'm part of Toronto Starts, which is a community as well. So all these places is where I go to meet people, learn from each other, read good content, engage in conversation. Frankly, I think that's a better avenue for relationships and learning than, you know what, I'm going to say magazines. A lot of people don't even read magazines anymore, but magazines and articles, valuable, of course, teach their own. But for me, it's all about community. Podcasts as well. Some podcasts I listen to, but I haven't gotten into that as much as some people. So for me, the word community is everywhere in my life now, and it's just picking which ones I think are most valuable for me and my needs.
Thank you for mentioning Toronto Starts. You're a
Yeah, no,
partner and a sponsor, and come out to our startup drinks events on a regular basis.
yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
What is something that you really, really enjoy about what you do?
Wow. All right, I guess two things come to mind. One, I enjoy working, I do two different things. So there's three things I'll mention that I enjoy, if I may. One is as a fractional CRO, I love working with CEOs and helping them kind of improve maybe their leadership a little bit as it relates to sales and marketing. I love looking back and saying I've left this company 3 months later in a better place. Like I feel a sense of accomplishment. I enjoy that immensely. So I love that. I'm proud of that. Two, Porch is a business, and we want to build it so it covers its costs and grows and is a sustainable business. But the reason we started Porch wasn't to make money and is not to make money. It's to make a difference and make an impact. And I'm lucky enough in my life where I can do that and take the risk on that. And so I'm incredibly passionate and absolutely enjoy meeting incredible human beings from around the world that I never would have met before. I met a wonderful woman the other day named Samaya. She came from Iran. She was a Porch member. She landed in Canada. Me and my co-founder Hunter, which I'll mention in a second, went and met her and her husband the other day for a coffee in Oshawa. 3 weeks into the country with her permanent residency, just literally like life-changing stuff that I never was a part of before. So incredibly passionate. I enjoy that. That is way more impactful for me in my life and making a difference than selling another piece of software just to make $1. So I enjoy it immensely. The third thing is my co-founder is actually my son, Hunter Weitzman. So being able to work with your son is pretty freaking special. So I enjoy it. I learn a lot from him. I think I learn more from him than he learns from me. And it is a really, really special time for us to build Porch together.
How does Porch foster a sense of community and collaboration among its members? And what role do you play in facilitating that?
So we do, I think it starts with how we vet and onboard our members, right? So we try our best to first set the tone of what the community is for. So in our messaging, in our application, if we talk to them before they actually become a member, we talk about community, we talk about wanting to give back and being part of the community, not just to get, but to give. So I think it starts with our discussion and the way we present the community at the very beginning. To be fair, not everyone's interested in that. And so we do vet our members. It is an exclusive community. Good or bad, you don't just apply and automatically get in no matter what. We want to make sure it's a community of, if I may say, high quality humans and entrepreneurs who are there for the right reasons and want to help each other and build relationships and grow together. Some people just want to sell a product and market things to each other and try to make money. And that's not, this is about relationships and growth. So that's number one. We encourage, again, we're okay with lurkers or learners. There's nothing wrong with that. We encourage that too, but we do encourage conversation. We ask questions to sometimes generate a discussion where people can learn from. And we have events. We have weekly events. We're moving to some even more than once a week, but we have a minimum of an event a week. Sometimes we bring in guest speakers for a certain topic, but we're often and more now setting a series of events that are all about engagement, collaboration, meeting each other, right? The traditional things like speed networking, which I prefer the idea of speed relationship building than networking, but that idea is incredibly well received. Some people are great at it, but we do our best to facilitate that and coordinate that for people. We're also going to bring in, we're just about to launch, there's different technologies. Anyone who's been in a community will have heard of things like Lunch Roulette or Meetsy. There's different tools out there that facilitate one-on-one connections. So we are going to leverage some of that technology to allow people to just connect on their own as well, based on their comfort level. But we will constantly preach that, coordinate that, try to facilitate. We do believe very deeply that an immigrant entrepreneur, I don't care where you are in the world, has a better chance of success by meeting and engaging with more and more people. And if you do that, some will be a great fit for you and some you'll learn a lot from, and some maybe you may not, but you'll never know unless you keep meeting more and more people. I believe that is a huge proponent of success. I don't care what business you're in. And so we will keep preaching that and promoting that and doing our best to make it easy for people to do that, because not everybody's super outgoing and some people find it hard to do that, and that's okay, but we're going to try to help them make it easier.
I like to say entrepreneurship is not a solo sport. You need to go out there and build your community, build your tribe, build your network, whatever you want to call it. One, there's a bunch of reasons. Entrepreneurship's a slog. It's hard work starting a business, building something from nothing, delayed gratification. I'll get paid 4 or 5 years from now. All this stuff. 9-to-5ers don't understand it. So people beside you don't really understand what you're going through. Find your network of entrepreneurs. They will help you. Just having these conversations to drive forward your frustrations. Every time I run a networking event, I hear from somebody who's taken 3 months forward now because they met somebody who talked them through a problem they were having. Exactly. Like, these things happen so much. So the power of the network and the power of getting your community together, and just even if you don't think you have anything to add, just being there and talking about it. You don't even know until you're there and you're
Yeah, I love that point, if I may, Craig. Even if you don't think you have anything to add, we try to tell everyone, every single person in our community has superpowers, right? Everyone has something valuable to contribute to each other. Whether you think so or not, I guarantee you do. We're starting to do, we were just talking about this morning. There's a lot of companies that do AMA events, right? Ask Me Anything, we're going to do a bit of a riff on that. And it's really, I think, an important one. This isn't about Neil Weitzman, me, in any way, shape, or form. If we were to do an AMA event, I don't want people asking me questions. We're doing ACA events, right? Ask the community anything. Because the community, the people, are the experts. They all have different expertise. One person in production, operations, sales, immigration, I mean, you name it. And so we're starting to host events where I'm nothing more than a moderator, or Hunter's nothing more than a moderator, just to keep the conversation somewhat organized. But people show up, ask questions on anything they're struggling with within their business, or any questions or challenges. And somebody in the community, I guarantee, will have advice and an answer. And it's not going to be me 90% of the time. ACA events, I think, is what we should all be doing, right? It's the community that has the value.
That's a great point. I think, I market myself as a startup coach. I've been doing Toronto starts for over 8 years now. We're the largest startup community in Canada, over 25,000 active entrepreneurs, blah, 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 blah. But people think I'm an expert in all things, but it's not that. It's the community. People come to me, I meet with somebody and say, all right, you need to talk to this person, and this person. Here's some templates to get you started. Come back to me once you've done this, but here, I'll intro you to these 3 people and they'll get you moving. And that's the whole point of the power of the network, is like, oh, you need to talk to Neil, or you need to talk to Trevor, or
you're a connector. You're a connector.
Absolutely. And some people, yeah, exactly. And might even be called a super connector at this level, because it is just connecting everybody all the time. But some people I'm at mentor, I've been in the startup space working on it for a long time. But yeah, the whole value is, I think there are other people out there that will help you better than and I will connect you with them, because that's the way it works. And just asking questions, talking to people, I mentioned how you facilitate that at networking events. When I'm looking around, I look for the people standing there by themselves. I go talk to them who they are, and then I inject them into some other conversation, and then I walk away. It's hilarious for people to actually watch. Says, hey, what's your name? Blah, blah. And I go over, hey, John, this is Mary. She does, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you tell her what you do? And then I walk away.
Just got to get the ball rolling sometimes.
Absolutely. And a lot of people come up to me later and say, wow, thank you so much. Because you walk in a room of 100 people and you're overwhelmed. You have no idea where to start, what to do, how, and where to start. And sometimes you just need a little push.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to take someone by the hand and help them out, and that's okay. I mean, we're all different, right? Some people, again, one of my superpowers is I'll walk up to anyone and talk to everybody, right? Because that's just who I am. But not everyone's like that, and there's lots of superpowers I do not have that I need a lot of help on from others. So, let's help each other with what we're good at and get help where we need it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'll talk to anybody, and that's exactly it. At a networking event, it's my job to make sure everyone's networking. So I see you're here to network, but obviously there's an issue. So let's inject you in and make it happen. Yep. And you learn all sorts of techniques to do that. And, just because you run so many live events, and it's so helpful. You need to just meet people. And once you start the conversation, everything just becomes so much better. How do you approach networking and building relationships with other entrepreneurs and business leaders? And what advice do you have for others looking to do the same?
Excuse me. I kind of break my networking life, I think, into two buckets. I mean, kind of pre-community and then community. What I mean by that is, like I said, about 5-ish years ago, I got involved in communities. And then before that, it was on my own and LinkedIn. In my career a little bit. I'm old, so before LinkedIn, it was just in business relationships and being active and getting out there as much as I can at different corporate events. So 3 stages, like events, trade shows, meeting new people. This was before LinkedIn became big. Then there was LinkedIn. In LinkedIn, I would literally do what a lot of people do today, sometimes well, sometimes not so well, is I'd reach out to people and I'd ask them for 5 minutes. If they were near me, I would offer to come wherever they want and buy them a coffee. And would you give me 10 minutes? I'd love to say hi and meet you. And others, it would be nowadays, of course, it's a virtual coffee. So I would not be shy with strangers who I thought there's something I can learn from. I would try to communicate why I would asking them to do me a favor. And I would argue for every 10 of those I sent, maybe 1 in 10 would reply and say, of course, Neil, I'd be happy to meet you and say hi and chat with you. That's pretty good. As I was growing up in my career to get that, and all it took was me asking. It was being bold enough to ask. And you win some, you lose some, but you don't hit them all, and you never scored a goal with the shots you don't take, all those different analogies. So I would say just have the guts to give it a try and be bold. Make sure you communicate the value and why you're asking. And I think you're pleasantly surprised that a higher percentage than you may think are willing to help and say hi and meet you and build relationships. And from there, you never know where it can go. The third part, or the third phase of networking careers is the world of community, which to me makes it 1,000 times easier, because I would argue 9 out of 10 people in properly moderated and well-run communities are there for the same reasons you are. So in Toronto Starts, let's use that as an example, right? A wonderful community. I know you mentioned it wasn't as active in the Slack as it was, but I'm willing to bet that if I messaged a bunch of different people, a decent percentage would reply to me and say, sure, Neil, let's have a virtual coffee and say hi to each other. Why? Because they're there for the same reasons. I know if I do that in PORCH, everyone would say, yes, let's do it. In the community that I mentioned, Pavilion, same thing. Because we all want to meet people, grow, learn, help our business, help our personal lives. Everyone's there for the same reason. So I think anyone listening probably gets the sense I'm very high on communities, hence I started one. But communities, really, really help everything, in my opinion, including networking and relationship building, maybe more than anything else. So if you have trouble, if you're listening, you have trouble, meeting people and building relationships, finding a mentor, finding a coach, finding a friend in the same thing that you do, gosh darn it, find a community, and I guarantee you will be grateful for it.
Yeah, and reaching out, like, I always look at someone's title when they're reaching out. Don't be generic, be specific.
Yeah.
If I think you're going to try and sell me something, I'm just going to say no. I'm just going to say no, because there's so many people reaching out on LinkedIn. So make it clear. Hey, I'm starting a new business, Craig. I'd love the 15 minutes of your time as I'm just coming to Toronto. If you're an immigrant entrepreneur, or whatever it is, you let me know. And then, okay, now I know I can box my commitment with you, and I can actually start thinking about what it is we're going to talk about. I always usually reply to people, and this rubs people the wrong way, is that I don't take meetings without an agenda. Please be specific of what you want to talk about.
Totally fair.
And again, that just makes me now, okay, they need to work on their marketing plan or whatever.
Yeah.
They need help connecting. And now my brain is thinking about that, but also they're thinking about it. Sometimes they just want to call. And if they haven't thought about what they want to talk about, they haven't structured their thoughts. So once you do that, I'm more than happy to meet with you. So that's kind of my rule. Sometimes I'm a little gruff around stuff, but because also I find that a lot of times, if you let me know what you're looking for, I can connect you right away to the right people. And then you may not even want to meet with me because you're going to be meeting with 4 people or whatnot, but that's okay. But reach out, make sure people know you're not trying to sell them something. And we'll be happy to connect. Yeah. Understand if people are away from you that it's a virtual coffee, not a physical coffee, because that's the way it goes. And I'm about to start up. I'm not sure. It'll probably be Sunday morning startup coffees again here in Burlington.
Cool.
We're just going to go for coffee for a couple hours, and anybody who wants to join can in the startup world can come and join, and we'll talk about whatever.
I love it. Maybe I'll drive out to Burlington and meet you for one.
Absolutely. So it's all just about finding the support you need. And I know, like we said a couple of times, you may not think you have anything to add, but you always do.
Yeah.
You said and captured it. Your son is your co-founder, and you're learning potentially more from him than he's learning from you. And you take a step back from that and you understand that everyone has something. I learn more from these young entrepreneurs that I work with, and I've been doing this for how long? Their energy, their drive, the ideas, the thoughts, it's just amazing. And so you always have stuff to add. So don't be afraid to join in. And as an entrepreneur community, almost everyone is willing to help.
Yeah.
I also want to go back to the point of, you're trying to sell a product, there's other networking groups for that. Go to BNI, go to Bang, go to, they're specifically there where they're trying to sell product and services to each other and connect to each other. Those networks are for that. We're trying to help people build companies.
Yeah, I fully agree. Marketplace versus community, two different things. It's actually a pet peeve of mine. It actually annoys me when I see marketplaces that use the word community as if they're building relationships, and then all they are posting ads and trying to sell crap to each other. And I think that's it's almost like misadvertising or fake advertising. I don't like that. A community is different than a marketplace.
Absolutely. And if you have something to sell to entrepreneurs, maybe you want to think about a sponsorship that we could partner with on something. Yeah. If it makes sense.
Yep.
Can you share any final thoughts or advice for our listeners who are entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs?
Sure. Why don't I take the aspiring entrepreneurs bucket there? I think I'd say, don't be like me. And what I mean by that is, I became a real entrepreneur very late in life. And I think it's because I was gun shy or didn't think I had the best ideas. I think my whole career was all about, wow, I need to think of something that no one else has ever thought of. And, I think that's what held me back. And then I had a family, had kids, wasn't willing to take the risk. And now here I am. And I'm just over the moon in what I'm doing and spending my time. And like I've mentioned, I wish I did it 30 years ago. I really do. I don't know what would have been different and how many immigrant entrepreneurs I might have been able to help a little bit if I had done that. So I guess I'd say, if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, you do not need to have the most unique idea. You do not need to have something that no one has ever thought about. Find something you're passionate about. Get off your butt. If you're on your butt, take action. Just think of a way. What are you passionate about? What problem can you solve for people that you're passionate about? And how do you do it better, faster, cheaper than someone else, right? It's all about relationships. It's all about, can you solve someone's problem in a way that makes them happy and they're willing to pay for? It does not have to be unique. And if you can just think of that, I just really believe if you find something, a problem you can solve and that you're passionate about, you will be successful. And so don't be like me, man. Don't wait too long in your career. And just do that. And hey, people like you, Craig, and me, we're here to help. So, find your problem, be passionate, and then join a community. And people like Craig and I would love to talk with you and meet you.
Yeah. Start something.
Yeah.
And I have no idea where that roadblock comes from, but I've seen it so many times. I'm just looking for that unique idea that no one's done before. Well, keep looking, good luck with that, because odds are that'll never happen. Secondly, look out in the business world out there. Do you see any one business that's doing anything unique that no one else is doing? No, there's always competition. There's always stuff. Like, why do you think you're going to be the one thing? Is Facebook unique? There's how many social media platforms out there? Is that like, there's so many things, how many different pop manufacturers, alcohol manufacturers, cannabis manufacturers, consultants, communities, like whatever. You're not going to be unique. So, focus on the community, focus on the problem, and you'll find your way.
Yeah. Love it.
Where can people go and find out more about you and PORCH?
Wow, thank you. I get to do a little bit of a plug. I appreciate that. Yeah, I guess. Well, I'm on LinkedIn. Anyone can look up my name on LinkedIn and connect with me. I love it. I'm a big LinkedIn person. I love to connect and chat and build relationships. Porch, you can find us at porchcommunity.ca. Porchcommunity.ca, pretty simple. There's information there. If you're interested in applying, you can press the apply button. You can message us. There's different ways to engage. My fractional CRO business is called Revenue X. Pretty straightforward. I'm very unique with my name, so you can find Revenue X at revenuex.ca. Pretty straightforward. And then, yeah, LinkedIn. Other than that, I'm around. I try to be as responsive as I can be to everybody. But I would love to engage with you at any of those places, depending on what you'd like to chat about.
And for those of you listening on the podcast, all the links to Porch and to Neil and to Revenue X will be in the show notes. So just take a look there.
And sorry, I forgot one thing. I will also be at this incredible June 1st Toronto Starts event, downtown Toronto. So if anyone wants to chat and meet me in person, I will be there, as everyone listening should be as well.
Well, speaking of plugs, you've been to Startup Investor Drinks. What do you think of the event and who should come?
I have been there. I'm going again. I loved it. And we are a bit of a sponsor. I would go even if I wasn't a sponsor. So if I was an entrepreneur, I would be attending. It's a great, simple, informal, comfortable way to meet other people. I love how it's not overly organized. And I mean that as a compliment, not as an insult. There's of course the necessary amount of organization. But it's also a little bit of a just everyone chat and be human and meet each other, which I think is wonderful. So any entrepreneur in the Toronto area, or if you're willing to drive, I don't know where you're located, then you should come. I think it's amazing. And it's, Craig doesn't charge too much. So it's especially cost effective. It's maybe the most cost effective way to meet a bunch of people in Toronto, possibly. And then, of course, as a sponsor, we pay a couple bucks to be a sponsor, and we're proud to do that because I think it's worth every single penny. We get to have a little bit of a booth there so I can meet more people and talk a little bit about Porch Community. And so, yeah, we love it. I encourage all entrepreneurs in the Toronto area to join. And if you do, then please tell Craig you joined because of what I said, and maybe he'll kick me back some 10% of your ticket fee. I'm just kidding. But I would love to meet you. So if you do come say hi to me for sure.
I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate you taking the time today to be a part of Startup Talk.
Awesome. I am honored and I love it. And I'd be honored to do it again sometime. Thank you, Craig.
Please stop recording. Is there any questions left? Anybody got questions? I didn't see any pop up here. So I'm about to let Neil go. I'll give you a second.
I noticed some of the names there that I think most of them are Porch members. So hello to everyone who joined from Porch, and thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. We had a few people on YouTube, but again, this is unfortunately, you had to cancel the first one, and the second one, we had technical difficulties. We had just converted our internet to a new provider, and we had problems that day, and it's been solid since, but
no worries. And it was my fault as well. So my apologies to everyone who maybe was tuning in. And Sabrina, thank you so much. And we'll chat with you in the porch.
Thanks, everyone.